What's happening, everybody? So I am coming up on roughly 3 years ownership with my Hellcat Challenger, and it's kind of dawned on me that I haven't done a real My Thoughts video or an ownership update video with this car lately. And really what I wanted to do is kind of expand on the Challenger as a car in general, and basically give you my thoughts on the Dodge Challenger the way that I see it today. So basically the Challenger, to me, it's a confusing car to me. It's the most confusing car that I've ever owned. I feel like it suffers from an identity crisis. It's not really a sports car, but it's more of a personal luxury sports car type thing. Think of it more like an old school Mercury Cougar. It's not really Mustang-y or Camaro-y enough to be called a pony car. Would you still call it a muscle car? I think that you would, and it's the only one really in the segment, so it has no real competition. So again, it's kind of left wandering alone a little bit. And you can see some of that in the fact that, well, the fit and finish isn't all that great. And reliability, for me at least, in terms of electrical problems, has been suspect. But aside from that, I always felt like I was beta testing this car. And by default, you gotta remember that I've also owned another Challenger before this. I had a 2016 SRT 392. Great car, but again, I just always felt like they suffered from a bit of an identity crisis. When it comes to performance, what really defines the muscle car is its ability to entertain you more than to put up a specific number. The Challenger is incredibly strong. The Hellcats are incredibly fast, but that fast really is only an average. Your typical Scat Pack will annihilate a set of tires, and do so with this grin-inducing smoke screen that it'll put up, but it's not really all that strong, say, from a 65-mile-an-hour hit. Although it is very strong, it's also very heavy, and the aerodynamics just aren't that great. So when you try to line up against the likes of a Mustang or a Camaro from a roll, it's not going to go so well, but the car was never designed for that type of spirited competition, if you will. It is more of a muscle car. It's a street brawler type car more than it is some kind of nimble, track going appliance. The funny thing about the Challenger for me, though, and I guess this kind of wraps up a lot of my feelings towards that car, I love my Hellcat just a little bit more than I dislike it, for the fact that, again, the fitment is a little bit suspect. Again, I feel like I'm beta testing the car with some of the electrical gremlins and how the doors close and some of the feel inside the car. But I love it more than I dislike it. I think that's the most important thing that I can say about it. In terms of an actual driving experience, again, they're really strong down low, great power through the mid-range, incredibly snappy partial throttle response, in essence, muscle car territory. But even with that, they handle well. It's just that they have such kind of a numb steering feel that although it will grip the road and handle just fine, you get the idea that you just are a bit disconnected from the road. And part of that may be a little bit induced by the fact that the car is a little bit heavy. But it's heavy in the same way that you need heavy parts to deal with a heavy amount of horsepower and torque that these things produce. And again, these aren't meant to be nimble. These are muscle cars, throwback muscle cars. So yeah, they're going to be a bit violent down low. They're going to be violent down low to make them more fun for you guys to have out, to get out there and have some fun with. So if you're thinking about getting one, I'll put it to you like this. Don't go into buying a Challenger, I should say, with the mindset of comparing it against a Mustang or a Camaro. The Camaro and the Mustang will suffer by comparison if what you're looking for is an American-style muscle car that is there to generate a heck of a lot of grins per mile, as opposed to, roll racings, that type of stuff where I hate to tell you this, but the Challenger's just not going to do so great, whether it's a Hellcat, naturally aspirated 6.4 or whatever. But who's doing that, honestly? In the whole stoplight to stoplight rumble, these cars are very difficult to run away from, I'll tell you that. And at the drag strip, when they're prepared properly, it's really difficult stock for the Camaro or the Mustang to get around one of these cars, especially if you're in the 8th mile. So in that, they do very well. And in fact, all of their odd quirkiness, weaknesses that you may attribute to them for the street end up working very well for them on a drag strip, or if you're running around on a set of drag DOT legal slicks on the street. So just keep that in mind. You're definitely not going into the battle unarmed. In fact, I can tell you, I've made life a living hell for some Mustang and Camaro owners. So there's at least that to consider if you're looking to get one of these things. These cars come with a lot of presence. They have a street presence that is very difficult to deny. They are unabashedly American. And again, it is probably the most fun car that I've ever owned. So if you're thinking about getting one of these Challengers, take everything that I just said with a grain of salt. Try it out for yourself. See if you like it. I bet you'll fall in love with it because, well, the sales figures can't lie either. A lot of folks would agree with your assessment if you choose to buy one. So with that, I'm going to wrap this up. Post up your comments. Let me know what you think. And that's a wrap. Adios.